Somehow I was able to see that screen.
Oh, yeah, I was on my shared. So now I just need to go into Facebook, make sure it's working. Okay, looks like we're good. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are now recording this and live streaming. So we're going to get started with, hope everybody enjoyed that networking. Can I see thumbs up if you met somebody new tonight? Terrific. Okay, well, let's start. We should have had that one up to give you some instructions. Again, I'm going to remind you in the chat box down below, if you haven't already, to just put your information in there and where you're from. At the end of the evening, you can save that information and you have the virtual business cards of everybody that you met tonight. Thanks for putting all this together, Renee. I should have opened this up earlier. Oh, those are good questions.
Those were my cheat sheets.
That's good. Yeah.
Talking points for folks.
Tonight we've got Janet Cornell as our guest speaker, and I'll get to her in just a minute here. We always start off in memory of Jean Garino, who's was the inspiration for starting this group, and was a pivotal person in the assisted living residential style arena here. So unfortunately, we lost him last year, but his work still lives on. If you want some information about our group, and especially if you're in Colorado, or even if you're not in Colorado, we've got a lot of information up here that would be helpful. And we do have a good business directory, but here's our website. It is DAALR.com, dollar.com. On here, we do have some assisted living for sale. That's a tab we're working on. So we don't have all of our items on there yet, but we're working on that. Get funding. This does talk a little bit about our program. We'll talk a little bit about that as we move along. Contact is an easy way to reach out to us. Key links. This is a very important section if you are here in Colorado, because under the key links, we have these particular, and these are at the top. This is chapter 7. These are the regulations. In chapter 2, these are 2 things if you are operating in Colorado that you need to know. These are links directly to the state website for this information. There's a lot of other good information on here. FGI guidelines, if you're having to deal with that. And we've got several other helpful links here. Some of this will apply to those not in Colorado. Most of it is based in Colorado. Please join our Facebook page, which is Denver ALR. This is, of course, a social platform where we can discuss issues, questions. If you're looking for just an answer, this is just a way to reach out to the community and get some information and get some feedback from others. Right now, I think we're actually a little bit more than 304 members. And Meetup, we always ask you to join the Meetup just so we can have another platform to reach out to you and know how many people are attending. So that Meetup is Denver ALR. Next, I want to go over our sponsors. And these are our sponsors currently. First, we'll talk about the RAL National Association. If you're a member of Denver ALR, you will receive a free associate level membership, free newsletters, and free access to the RALNA group purchasing benefits. That is a pretty big thing right there, that group purchasing benefits. So you can explore this website at ralna.com. There is, I think, over 30,000 members of this, so it's a pretty strong group and definitely something we encourage you to join. If you want to learn about assisted living, then, well, let me go back. Oh, I think I'll just keep going forward. Anderson Legal Business and Tax Advisors. The key here is these guys are really good at the tax advisors. They're very good at setting up your businesses. And that's andersonadvisors.com. Assisted living marketing. If you have an assisted living, then this is the guy you need to talk to about your marketing. And he happens to be here tonight. So I'll let him talk a little bit about his business.
Hey guys, for those of you that don't know, I'm Peter Brissett and own assistedlivingmarketing.com. We've been working with assisted living communities, especially a lot of residential assisted living for going on 13 years now. And we can help you with everything from designing your logo to lots of people are talking there.
Got it.
To things. Design your logo, your website. We can do print, brochures and that kind of stuff for you, as well as running ads to drive more traffic and that type of thing. So super affordable. Been doing this a long time, know the industry really well. So if we can help you out with anything, just let us know.
Thanks, Peter. And I'll say Peter's done a great job for us. He's done our websites and he's been very responsive. So very easy to work with. Pinkowski Law, Brian thought he might get on tonight, but he thought he'd be a little bit late. But Brian and Michelle Pinkowski are leading attorneys for assisted living. So, you know, if you have any kind of an issue where they're really, really, really good, they're good at everything that they do with the assisted living. But I tell you what, if you are running a facility and you're going up against an HOA or anything to do with increasing your bed count, these are the people you want to talk to. They will help you out in getting your bed count. They go against cities and municipalities all the time, and they use and understand the fair housing laws. And that is a federal law that will override any HOA and any state rule. It's federal. They know it inside out, and they're the people to talk to. PinkowskiLaw.com is their website. So it looks like the one that I missed back here is learn about assisted living. So this should be for Assisted Living Academy. I thought we had a link up here for this. So that's the RAL Academy, and they help people understand how to get into this business. Their website is ralacademy.com. We highly recommend them if you're getting started in this business. They've got great information, and we'll make sure we update this slide for next time. Next would be Grand Avenue Business Brokers. This is actually us, myself and Renee, and we are business brokers. We help people buy and sell assisted livings, and we also are involved with the Better Way Funding. We hang our license at A Better Way Realty. A Better Way Funding does lease options, and what we do there is buy the properties and lease them back to operators. They have an option to buy it back from us in the future. So it's a great way to get started or expand your portfolio. We've helped some of our operators double and triple their business in the last few years. So it's really a good way to, you know, build your business and get that 3-pack, which RAL Academy has always preached. That 3-pack is where you start to really make money and make a business of it. And recently, let's see, we sold 43 beds in Grand Junction about a month and a half ago. We're actually closing on 25 beds on Monday in Grand Junction. There's a 3-pack available in the Centennial area. This is the business and an option on the real estate. There's also 2 8-bed facilities available in the South Metro area. We recently sold a 10-bed that's up in northern Colorado. We have under contract a 10-bed, which is just real estate only in the South Metro, and we have available 86 beds in eastern Colorado. So that's our current activity. If you need any help buying or selling, you can contact me, and there's my phone number. I also have that in the chat screen. You can also scan that QR code and get on our list so that when we have something, you'll be the first one to hear about it. Usually when we get something on the market, the first thing we do is send it out to our list. Because of the confidentiality of this business, we don't put it on the market first. We always send it to our private list first. And our sellers appreciate that, because it's not like we've stuck a for sale sign in their yard and everybody knows that they're for sale. So if you'd like to be on that list, and scan that QR code, I'll give you a minute. Okay, your minute's almost up. If you want me to go back, then I will. Next, Colorado Assisted Living Association. This is a group that we are very pleased to be associated with. And who do we have tonight to give us news from CALA?
I'll do it.
Janet, okay.
Yeah, I'm the speaker for tonight, but I'm also on the board for CALA. CALA is the leader in the Assisted Living Association for the smaller group homes. We have 25 and under probably. We provide educational opportunities, mentoring, just reaching out to question, ask somebody something of, here's what I'm struggling with. But every month we offer educational opportunities. We have a lot of people on there that have been doing this for a long time. So you have some mentors in the business, and then we usually do two big conferences a year. So it's really just a support structure for you. It's not a lot of money, but a lot of bang for your buck on that. So.
Thanks, Janet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll mention CALA just had a conference. Oh, what was it? 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
A lot of great information there. So it was a pleasure to be a part of that conference. Okay, so next I'm going to introduce our speaker, Janet Cornell. I've known Janet for a few years. I'd have to say she's one of the wisest operator minds that I've met here in this industry. And she started her own consulting business about 1.5 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, about October 1st of last year, 2021. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, we're just over a year. She's got 20 some years of doing this and has run, what did you have, up to 10 homes at once?
You know what? I had 8 at one time. Yeah.
So
yeah.
With no further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Janet, and I'll let her give us the presentation on inherited problems when buying an RAL.
Thank you, Vern.
You're welcome.
Yeah. There's.
You want to share your screen, Janet?
Yeah, as soon as I get the introduction going on.
Okay.
What I've done for years is I started with the Group Home Association as the marketing director, and then our administrator abruptly resigned, and so then I took it over and said, well, how hard can this be? And I did the administrator's class, and then I was floored at how hard it is. I was running 8 facilities that were running like independent businesses, so I had to kind of contain them, reorganize them. So I did that, and then our company actually sold last year, so I jumped out. Through those 14 years of being an administrator for 8 different homes, I was able to learn from mistakes, what works, what doesn't work. I felt like I was running in a gerbil wheel for about 2 years, and it was just crazy. So I thought, okay, I either need to get control of this company or I need to get out. So I did formulate some ideas and strategies to pull that together as one business unit. And the state surveyors used to survey your home at least once a year. So I have about 75 surveys under my belt of what works, what do they see, what are they looking for, what's the plan of correction. So then when it's sold, I jumped out and went into consulting to really I'm hoping to help other group home owners that are struggling. It's really hard when you first get started. You're probably new to the business, you're new to dealing with the state health department. It doesn't have to be as hard as it seems in the beginning. So that was my passion, to work with, homeowners that either bought a home or morphed from 1 to 4. Like Vern said, there's money in 3s. Well, you can run 1 really successfully, and then you morph to 3 and you're swallowed by it, because 1, you used to run, when you owned 1 home, you used to run and get paper towel and milk and do this and that. Well, when you own 3, you're not the person that runs and gets the supplies anymore, because you're running 3 and you should be doing your administrative type of stuff, not running to get supplies. So that's my other love, is to show people it's not as hard as you're making it be, because you're trying to do the day-to-day and you should not be doing that. So that's when I went into consulting, to show people how to do that. Well, then when I went into consulting, I saw a whole other side of things that I had not seen as an operator. And that's when somebody buys a home and they don't know that they just walked into the mess that the previous owner left behind. A change of ownership in Colorado, you inherit all of the other surveys that the past owner had. Sometimes the other owner is getting out because they can't run it. They're not successful. So they're getting out with a string of problems behind them. I actually thought when you did a change of ownership that you just wiped the slate clean and you started as new owners, and you don't in Colorado. And I'm going to be surprised if it's not like that in other states. You inherit all those back problems. And I'm now working with 2 clients that were on a consultant mandate and the new owner didn't know it. A consultant mandate is that I have to be in that building once a week for about 3 or 4 months, and then twice a month after that. And the scary thing is the consultant sets the amount of time. So the owner's now out of control of how much the consultant costs. Even though it helps my business being, I think it's creepy for an operator, you know. I didn't know that until I got into the consulting business. So I immediately hounded on Vern and said, do these people know this? Do they know when they're buying this, that they could be inheriting a $12,000 to $18,000 consultant mandate, and they don't know it until they actually buy the company. So I did some research. I thought, okay, I gotta move up the food chain here and contact Vern and let you guys know that if you inherit problems, get them cleaned up immediately. You're also in Colorado have to have a quality management plan. Probably in other states, they're called a quality assurance plan, a quality assurance program, whatever. But you have to have that in order to operate a business. If you inherit a bad one, or worse off, you inherit none because the other company didn't have one, you got to come up with that, because in Colorado, they're going to do a change of ownership inspection of your property. They're going to want to see your policies and procedures. They're going to want to see your quality management plan. And they're not necessarily going to ask about the survey that happened 2 months ago, but you don't even know there was a survey 2 months ago. So you don't know there's 16 survey tags that you got to answer to. Also, they're going to rip through your home. They're going to say, oh, these 16 things are still a problem. Now you have 2 citations for the same problems because you didn't know you're supposed to fix them. And then I've seen the State Health Department come in 3 weeks later. Now you got 3 citations for the same problems. Now you just bought a consultant. I don't think that's fair. You know, I do not think that's fair. New owners have to have 90 days to get their feet on the ground, but that's not the operating environment we're in right now. So my plan is to let everybody know, get your act together in that first month you buy that building. Hire people that know, join CALA, do something to get people that know how to run those places, showing you how to do that. You know, I was blessed to go into a Tony Robbins conference a number of years ago. Okay, I'll admit, nobody knows I walked on fire. I must be awesome. So anyway, with that, his big thing is get a mentor. When you're jumping into something new, you don't have to recreate the wheel. Get a mentor. So that's my advice is, if you don't know what you're doing, get a mentor, because before it rolls over on you and you get an $18,000 bill from Janet, then you need to know that up front. So that's what my PowerPoint is how to get control of that even before you buy it. You know, I think there's a way to do fair disclosure. I met with the State Health Department yesterday, and I asked him, I said, how would these owners know that? And you can contact the State Health Department directly. There's got to be a way to do full disclosure in a contract of pending surveys, pending problems. And I don't have that background, but Vern does. So he can tell you how to do that. But there's got to be a way, when you buy a residential home, they have to disclose problems with the home. So I think there's got to be something in the contract that you guys can do to protect yourself. If they don't have these records in place, then they get to pay the consultant to get them shored up, and that will keep previous owners from hiding stuff, from those skeletons. When you guys are savvy buyers, they're going to have to disclose, Well, yeah, I've had one foot out the door for 6 months and I haven't done anything, and I've been short-staffed and I get flagged with so many problems, but good luck buying this thing. So that was my impetus right there. So my presentation is a little bit geared towards Colorado. Our regulations are pretty stringent here, so I'll share my PowerPoint. All right, here's the first thing. Here's my first slide there with me. Oops, I think I missed the slide. Okay, you got to know some stuff before you buy it. You should take time not only to look at the retail, the building, what you're buying, if you're buying the building. If you're not buying the building, and like Vernon has a lot of people that don't buy the building, but they buy the business. You got to take time to look at the facility's past surveys. How are they operating that? You got to look at that, I think, before you buy the business. You got to know if there's any pending surveys out there, guys. That's hard. In Colorado, sometimes it takes the State Health Department 60 days to get the survey on the public site. So you got to go through the back door here and ask the State Health Department, do they have any pending surveys? Pending surveys and past surveys are public documentation here in Colorado. So you have a right to see those. You need to know if there's a consultant mandate, and that's going to cost you. It's $500 to $2,000 a month, depending on what is required for that consultant mandate. And they're 6 months to a year contract. If you're buying that home and you don't know that's in place, that's a huge hit from the beginning, I think. And I'm not sure it's fair to a new owner that didn't know that was in place. And I have 2 brand new owners that just bought it 60 days ago and didn't realize that they were in that. Oh, this is jumping ahead too far. Whoops. Let me try to go backwards here. I don't think I'm going backwards. Yep. Hold on a minute. Let me get out of this. Now, how do I go backwards, Peter? You're supposed to be helping me on this.
You can do a page up if you're doing a PowerPoint.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay. How do you look? You search the CDPHE website here. First, you go to the divisions. Assisted living falls under health facilities. I don't know what it is in other states, but we fall under health facilities here. And then you find and compare facilities. You put in the company name. You follow the site to the directions. And then the CDP site, it's difficult to work in. That's why I'm showing you tonight. You can't go live on it on Wednesday nights, or I would have done that for you. So first of all, you have to go to the home page, and here's about CDPHE. And then you have to jump through so many hoops. I have looked at the regulations for other states. They have equally as many hoops here, I'm going to tell you. But you have to go to all about CDPHE, and they go to divisions. Then you have to go to divisions. And this is kind of cumbersome. And then you have to go into health facilities. See how big these sites are? So no wonder people don't do this, because they don't know how to do it.
Janet,
so
can I jump in here real quick?
Yeah.
We have a shortcut to that facilities on our key links page.
Do you? That's awesome.
It's down at the bottom.
Okay.
And you see it just says facility information or something.
And so you're not jumping through these hoops. That's good, because most people don't understand that. So this is where you're going to find and compare facilities. And then you literally put the name of the facility in here, and then it'll pull them up right away. And then you can see their past surveys. I put in Brookdale, Arvada, see how many surveys they have. Now, this is not bad. You're 2018, you have 5 surveys, or you have 5 citations, 3 surveys, 3 citations and 4 surveys, that kind of thing. That's not bad. You can actually go into this list and see what they're about. Some of the people that I work with now didn't realize they had 5 surveys and 18 citations. I'm working with one now that had 27 problems. And they didn't know it before they bought it. They had 27 problems, and they were big problems. And I actually saw one that in Colorado, we have an IJ term, which is an immediate jeopardy position. It's a $2,000 fine usually. It was never paid by the previous owner, so the new owner got to pay it because they assumed the license. I think that needs to be disclosed up front. If you owe past fines, there's something in me that says the previous person that held the license needs to hold that. But without you guys having a heads up and knowing that, I don't know how you solve that, because you bought the license, you changed the license into your name. So you bought the problems, even if you have outstanding fines. So a company bought one with 27 citations and a $2,000 fine from the beginning. And they couldn't get all the 27 citations fixed, and the state showed up, 5 weeks into their purchase, and they didn't get them fixed. They got a second citation, which included another IJ for one that was on the original thing. They got whacked with another $2,000 fine for an immediate jeopardy position. It's not even that big of a deal. Some of their staff were not trained in CPR and first aid with chest compressions. And they changed this on us recently, but so they put them in an immediate jeopardy position again, and they got whacked with another $2,000 fine. So that's a lot of money when you're just trying to get your business, up and running. And I'm going to guess when you sell a home, sometimes it's not at 100% occupancy. Is that right, Vern? Sometimes the occupancy is down?
Usually it is, occasionally it's up, but
Yeah. Because the previous owner is frustrated. They've not been successful. They have 1 foot out the door already. And so you're buying a kind of a business that's not at full occupancy, and you didn't know, you now just inherited these problems. So that's what my goal is, to let you guys know how to get in there and do that prior to them, prior to the State Health Department come for your change of ownership. You need to get these things in order, and to get them in order, you need to know how to look them up first, So any questions so far, guys?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at this, which I've done for our purchases, I've clicked on, let's say if we're looking at this example, I clicked on focused vaccine survey, and then something pops up on the right, and then there's a narrative. How would I know if, would that be in clear language saying $2,000 fine, immediate jeopardy? How would I know how bad this is?
You know what? They usually tell you what the survey tag is. It's A, B, C, D, and E. And then you have to actually go into the regs to know that, what they are. A is not that bad. See, here's my handy dandy regs. A is not that bad. E is immediate jeopardy. E is where you get the fines from. And the scary thing we're here in Colorado is that ceiling is going to be lifted. It used to be at a cap of $2,000 a year. Starting January 2024, it will be up to $10,000 for an immediate jeopardy problem.
Wow.
Yeah. So how would you like it? Yeah, Renee?
When's that going into effect?
January of 2024.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'd want to buy a business when they have an immediate jeopardy position that could be, $10,000 plus a consultant fee of $12,000. That's $22,000. And maybe you're buying an 8-bed facility and you got only 4 beds full. But I think you need to do your homework up front. And I think you need to make sure all fines are paid before you buy it. I don't know, Vern, can you put a disclosure in there that all fines are paid, all fines under the previous owner are paid prior to sale?
yeah, we could put something in there.
I think you need to do that.
That would say something to that effect.
And then they're going to come forward when they know that, they're not, because sometimes the homeowners I've seen are just not even answering the survey, because they know once they answer it, then they're going to set a due date for the fine, or they just don't pay the fine, and they're negligent in paying the fine. So that would be my thing, When the state comes in to do your change of ownership survey, they will look at all the previous survey tags, whether it's 1, 16, or 27. If the survey tags are not compliant, they will cite you again. We kind of went over this. The state will be back for a revisit, and you get cited 3 times. You just probably bought yourself a consultant. Yeah. Consultants in Denver are charging anywhere from $100 to $140 an hour. And the state sets the terms of how often the consultant has to visit. The consultant sets the terms of how long she'll stay each time. On the call yesterday, they were anywhere from 3 hours to 8 hours every time they come. And if you're on a, yeah, Vern's like, holy crap, you know, because if you're on a weekly visit and somebody's charging $140 an hour and the consultant says, I need to be here for 8 hours every week to make sure we get this cleaned up. I don't know if I like that. My thought is, being a consultant, if I clean it up, this is what I found with my own homes, because I did mock surveys. If I clean it up, then it goes wrong, it goes bad within 30 to 60 days, because I was the one that fixed it. And so then I started making my staff fix it. And that's where I'm doing consulting now, is I give you a list. I'm not fixing this mess. You made the mess, you clean it up, you know? So I give them a list and I come back the next week, but I'm not there going through the paperwork and doing that. I think they need to fix it. They need to be the operator. They need to know how to fix it. So I'm not only lower hourly, but I didn't realize everybody else is charging 100 to 140, and they're charging you travel time. So if you're an hour away, they're not only charging you mileage, they're charging you the hour they were in their car. So that's the racket, you know. I didn't know this before I was a consultant. I'm kind of mortified, you know. Some of them are like, well, why would you want to change that? You know? Yeah. So that's kind of the lowdown of what happens if you buy an existing ALR that has a past that you didn't know about. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 months to get a survey posted on the CDPHE website because they're short-staffed. So they don't have them posted, and that's the pending situation that's kind of scary, because you can look at their past history. Like Renee, you're going in and looking at their past history. Sometimes the website doesn't work. You click on it and it says null, and then you go back again and you have stuff, or it says 0 deficiencies and it doesn't. So sometimes you have to go back several times and look at it. But you can call the State Health Department here. I'm going to guess it's open records in other states that you can call them to protect yourself from kind of buying a nightmare here, you know, because like if you're buying an 8-bed and you only have 4 beds filled, you're already going to be stretched to make payroll, because unfortunately in these small homes, you know, you can't do half a person, because you're down to 4 people. You either staff with 1 or you don't. So you know, we don't have the flexibility in the smalls. Just to, in the bigs, they have 100 people and then they go to 70, they can cut staff. Well, in small ALRs, you can't cut staff that much. You can cut down in other areas, but you got a lot of fixed expenses in small ALRs. You know, you got your rent payment or your mortgage, you get your food. You got a little wiggle room on food. You don't have a lot of wiggle room on your utilities, because you can't really heat half the house. You know? So yeah, so that's my passion, is to get new investors savvy on know what you're buying, and know the ramifications that you're going to get slapped pretty hard when you don't know what you're buying with the skeletons in the closet. So. Also, there's a bunch of forms you may need if you're starting in Colorado. These are forms that I have on my site. You're happy to, you know, you can go there. I've helped people do mock surveys. I helped mystery shop a home before to see if I thought they were running. I went in as a family member. It's, you know, it happens. People do it all the time. They mystery shop everything. So I went as a family member for a buyer that wanted to know, what do you think? You know, and the staff was awesome. The home was nice, you know, so she went ahead with it and bought it. So you can do that. You can, after you buy the home, you can get somebody that knows what they're doing to go in and do a mock survey. How compliant is this home operating right now? Because if you got sloppy staff that are doing bad med passes and they don't really care about the regs, okay, that'll tell you when you take ownership, you got to post some ads on Indeed to get better staff that are invested. You know, is your night staff really doing anything like prepping lunch, or are you paying people to sleep at night? I've seen that a lot of times. So I think it's well worth your time to do some homework, you know, and I do have some forms on my website you're able to purchase if you want to. I'll be happy to talk to you. I'll be happy to, you know, help you out on how you're going to start this thing right from the beginning and the first month operating well. But you can't do that without doing your homework up front of what are you facing before you close, and, you know, so yeah. So any questions now?
Janet, I just posted your website in the chat. Can you make sure that's correct?
Okay. Let me see.
SCAC-janet.com.
Yep. And you have a little dash on the side. I'm not sure you need that, or a little thing on the side, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
I can put my phone number in here too. I will put that in there if you need to call me, but. Also, if you need, help kind of navigating with our state health department, you can do that too. Oh. Why is this not sending? Did it go to everybody? There it goes. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Any other, it was kind of short and sweet, but in Colorado, you also have a quality management plan, which tells you how to kind of run your business. People make that process incredibly difficult. And really, there's only 3 areas you need to be concerned with. It's pretty much medication administration, resident care and safety. The third one is staff training and records. You don't need 17 projects you're trying to watch for one. You're not going to watch all 17 of those anyway. You can't. You're running your business, but everything falls under there. If you have a lady that repeatedly falls, well, guess what that falls under? Resident care and safety. If you have food issues and you've served bad food and you had residents get sick from the bad food, well, that's under resident safety. If you have staff, one company inherited a home, the staff actually left the shift at 6 a.m. and the hospice caregiver got there at 10 a.m. and there was no staff on duty for 7 people.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And it was during the sale of the home. So the new owner now has to prove for 1 year that she's got backup staff at any given time, because somebody left the shift and left 8 people unattended. And so that and the previous owner, just their staff was, unmotivated. They knew they were selling. So, that's why Vern doesn't post everything, because if the staff knows you're selling, they know they don't have a future. So then they don't care, and I would, there's probably strategies to ensure as existing staff that you're going to keep things the same. You're not going to go in there and change everything immediately. I don't know what the strategy is on that, because we're incredibly stressed for staff here in town, in Denver. I think probably everybody is across the country, And then your policies and procedures here in Denver. God, we have a ton of them. I think there's 17 that are mandated by the State Health Department, and then you have to have any others that you want to put in place. So we got a fair amount of regulations, and I would, Vern, how many of your buyers actually read the regulations before they buy a home? How many do you think?
Well, that's a good question. You hear me say it at every single meeting. And I would say most of our buyers are somewhat experienced.
Yeah. Good.
At least have one or have worked in the industry. So, I would hope all of them.
Yeah, because you get a fair amount of people that have worked in assisted living and then buy their own home.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Because, if they don't have some experience, certainly if we're doing the lease option, they need to have a partner that does have the experience. We won't do a deal with somebody that's just brand new without having some kind of either background in the industry or have a partner that does have background. That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah.
So I would say all of them have to, and that's just part of doing the business right. And this is a business that you have to do right because there's people's lives involved. So, we work pretty hard at vetting our operators. And I have talked a lot of investors out of this business because it's not an easy business. And if you don't have the heart for it, then if you just want to be passive, you can invest your money with us and we'll put it to work.
Yeah. And then also, if you're going to be an owner, probably it depends on how much you want to be involved. The owner that I worked for was not involved. So I was the administrator. I I had access to running the checking account, the budgets, not over the top. My threshold was $1,000 a month. If something was over 1,000, I contacted him. It was under 1,000, then I bought the washing machines, the stoves, all that stuff, because he didn't want to be involved at that level. But you have to give your administrator some leeway, because if you don't want them calling you for every little thing, then you got to give them the power to run the home. And guess what? You didn't want to be involved, so you got to trust them with the decisions they make, because they're doing the best they can with what they got to work with at the time. Any other questions we might have? This might have been a little brief of a conversation, but
I'd
Go ahead, Renee.
like to know I know some of the names in here, but if you could raise your little hand from your reactions, if you were a current owner and of a facility, that would be helpful. I don't know if I can see them. I don't know if everyone's. I don't see any hands.
they may not. Can they raise their hand when they're muted? I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, they can.
let me raise mine while I'm. Yeah, you can see my hand, right?
Yep.
Okay. So it seems, is it Al? Al, are you an owner? No. Okay. So it seems like maybe this group might be buyers who do not yet own.
Oh,
So,
Martin was one.
oh, Martin. Yes,
Terrace,
Martin
yeah.
Terrace.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm wondering if you have some quick tips on buyers as far as electronic policies and procedures, or I'm just thinking back to the staffing issue. Staffing is always a challenge.
Yeah.
So what I've discovered when we did our care presentation, and you were an incredible contributor to that conversation, was it seems like a lot of operators don't have their policies and procedures and their training electronic. Are you finding you've seen good operations, better operations, worse operations? Are you finding that there's a correlation to how they have their records to their success?
You know what? It's easier to do it electronic because they're always current. Once you put them in the house and you print them, they're out of date. The problem with that is our state health department wants a backup. So if you have your residents and your staff have to have access to your policies and procedures at all times. If your internet's down, they don't have them. Unless you put them on the hard drive of the computer in the house. But if your electricity is out, you don't have them. So the state health department is a little old school. They want a backup copy in the house. So it's not easy. It's also easier for staff to sit down with a book at night and go over some things and get trained that way than it is for them to sit in front of the computer, So I have mixed feelings. Sometimes you can go overboard on trying to be paperless. I worked with a facility yesterday that nobody takes any notes for the residents because it takes forever to boot up the computer and they have to put them there. I'm like, why aren't you just doing a piece of notebook paper that said Betty had a great day? She ate meals. She had her daughter come visit. All was good today. And they can't do that because you have to sign into a system. And when you change residents, you can go in and only do it on one resident. So it takes them a long time to even chart for the day. And so they just don't do it. I thought, okay, that's not working in your favor there. Yeah. And I see we have to update our policies and procedures here annually. And then our quality management plan actually has to be updated annually or upon other needs that come up with residents. If you have a survey that went bad, all those survey tags need to make it back into your quality management plan someplace. Every facility in the state's been flagged on COVID because it changes so many times. They can't keep up. So everybody here has been, 540, it shows up on everybody's, Yeah. So I would say happy medium. Electronic is great, but when you make a change, you gotta be able to probably change it at the house, someplace. Replace their document and tell them to get rid of the old document. And staff have to know where to find these documents because a lot of times the staff just doesn't know where they are, And I used to, staff would say, oh yeah, I read the policies and procedures. That's okay. So I used to give them a really funny test. If they read them, in assisted living in Colorado, you cannot have any lighted candles. So they wouldn't read those. They're in the policies and procedures. You can't have any lighted candles. So I'd say, how many birthday candles can you light on Betty's cake? Well, they didn't think about it. It's her birthday. Why wouldn't you have birthday candles? Well, we can't have any candles lit. So they would put 10. They would put 1 for every decade. They would put 3 because Betty can't blow very hard. You know, I think, okay, I know you didn't read the policies and procedures. The correct answer is none, you know. Or how many extension cords can you allow a family to wind around the bedroom to plug mom's Christmas tree in because she really wants it on this nightstand by her bed? And the staff would say, well, as long as it's not a tripping hazard. Well, wrong, it's none. No extension cords are allowed in Colorado in anybody's room at any time. So,
Wow.
so you know, I mean, you have to make it fun for your staff because reading the policies and procedures really is pretty boring. So why don't you just come up with some funny questions and see if they get them right, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's hard, but know your regulations and know what you're getting. The scary thing is, I think, is before you purchase the home, you don't know, you know. So if you don't want to do it, I'll snoop it out for you and I'll tell you here, I'll, you know, send it to you. And I know how to get into the portal and see it, you know. And but I would definitely, in Colorado, Vern, I would definitely say we want access to your coffee site so we can see pending problems, because that's where they're at, or the state health department. But then you're also relying on the state health department there to disclose stuff. And
can the buyer hire you
Mhm.
to do a preliminary search, or I don't know, wellness check on the business?
Sure, I've done that before. I've gone into places and I did a secret shopper type of thing with one gal in the Colorado Springs. And I said, okay, the home is run well. The staff is nice. They know what they're doing. Their marketing objectives are awesome. They did not let me see any residents. And I said, there's a red flag. You got probably residents here that are over what you're able to provide, because nobody let me see the residents. Because when families shop your home, they shop the residents, the staff, and is the home nice? You know, they didn't let me see the residents. I'm like, okay, who's my mom living with here? And nope. Nobody gets to come out of the room during a survey. That's a huge red flag. Well, when the gal bought the home, 3 people in wheelchairs, 2-person transfers, she had to hire extra staff because she also didn't shop the residents. You know, she didn't know they weren't meeting staffing levels. So she had to hire an extra staff member right from the get-go. She only had 4 people. You know, 2 were on end stage hospice and were bedbound, and she didn't know that. And I kept telling her, I'd be looking at the residents before you buy. If you got any people that I think you deserve to know that they got 8 residents and 3 are on hospice. You know, you're probably going to get this thing off the ground, and you're going to have some people check out, unfortunately, on you. You know, and they're listing them. Or the gentleman that she bought the home from was taking anybody to inflate his financials, and he was taking people that were above what should have been there. And I try to tell her, I think they're hiding something here on resident care. So, yeah, I just, you know, what I've learned in the last year is spooking me up for new investors. And we do need new investors. We do. You know, every healthy industry needs new blood, new people coming in. But it just made me fearful for the people coming into the business because they were somewhat blindsided with what they were getting, you know.
What do you think are the top 5 things that you've seen that would cause these mandated consulting requirements?
Usually the number of tags on the previous owner has not corrected things. You know, they got
Like what kinds of things?
They still are having staff work without CPR and first aid. They have toilets that are not cleaned. That's challenging when you have residents that, you know, I mean, you have to be in the business to know some people are not that tidy in the bathroom. So you got to have a regular schedule to get that cleaned up. They didn't have 3 days worth of food in the house. The old owner was on such a tight budget, they didn't. Well, that's a problem, because if we get a big snowstorm or a storm here in town and you don't have delivery of groceries, your residents don't have anything to eat, you know, so you have to have a 3-day supply. The one I just worked with today, I said, these are all 7 adult men and you're feeding them 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch. And I opened up all the cupboards. That's all the food they had in the house. This is not appropriate. No chips, no drinks, no sodas, no milk, no lemonade. There was nothing else. There was a loaf of bread, a jar of jelly, and a jar of peanut butter. 2 gallons of sour milk. Somebody let the freezer in the garage go above temperature and everything froze and thawed and then froze and everything stuck to the walls. So
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
you cannot do that. You cannot do that. And the reason I took that on as a consultant is there's 7 men that live there with mental health problems that need a place to live. And you know what? They know they don't have a place to live. They know, because the one guy keeps asking me every time I come in with my name tag, he said, "Are you here for me?" I said, "No, why?" He goes, "I just got here. I just moved here. I don't want to have to move someplace else. I'm trying to behave." And that's what the mentality is. So those 7 men, one guy's been there for 10 years and the owner isn't running it right. That needs to not happen, So that's sad to see that some people, and the owner got herself in a tight squeeze. She didn't know what it was going to cost to operate this home. She doesn't have the budget to operate it because she didn't realize, your staffing, your payroll is a fixed cost. And so she didn't realize how high that would be, and it
Now,
is.
is this a new owner or they've been there for a while?
They've been there for 2 years and they never did figure out how to run it. And now they're under a mandate and they're already strapped for cash. And now they get my fee. I mean, they got to turn it around,
Well, if they can't, you know who to call to buy it.
Well, I already suggested that. I already said, guess what? Maybe you need to bail out before you lose the license,
Yeah, because then they'll have nothing to sell. At least now they've got a business, and
Yeah.
that's where the value is. We have a property that the license lapsed, and the cost to get it up to current FGI standards is horrific. Having to cut into masonry to drop walls 8
And
inches.
did the windows. Oh yeah, I looked that up. I told Vern, I said, that was this little gal's strategy. She said, my mother owns the home, so I was going to run it in the ground and then I was going to buy it. And I'm like, that's not a good strategy. That's going to happen because you got to meet FGI standards when this thing fails, so.
Yeah.
Which is, not a good thing. So that's what my goal is to get operators shored up and get yourself off of the radar screen of the State Health Department and get yourself off there sooner than later, because they're an interesting bunch of people once you're on their radar screen. Let me just leave it at that. Yeah.
You don't want to get on their bad side.
No, you don't. Yeah. Just all is good, all is good, and show them show them what you're doing from the beginning, and they'll get you off the radar screen. If they show up and you get this, and you say, "Oh, I didn't even know they had 17 citations," they're gonna be just okay. We're gonna show up in 3 weeks, see if you got them fixed. In 3 weeks to fix 17 problems, it is a lot. This current home, they thought they could use the garage for storage, so they rented the garage out as a storage unit. And it's got a bunch of junk in the garage. And guess what? The State Health Department dinged them. So now they have a lease on the garage for a storage unit. It's like, you can't do that. You can't lease the garage out for storage. So now they got to break that lease and try to get that stuff out of there. Because you can't use this garage. The home can have no clutter and no storage of unused furniture. So that's how they dinged them on it.
I've seen so many facilities with the garages packed with stuff.
Yep. We used to do it at my homes. That's where you put all the stuff because you didn't want it in the home. So we stacked it all in the garage. We couldn't do that after a while. They ding them on it. It's in the regulations.
So what's the storage? I mean, if you have a home that doesn't have a whole bunch of space to store things, but you've got Christmas decor and I don't know, whatever other things, what are they supposed to do with the things they store? Get a
What?
facility?
You can prove that those are used. Christmas decorations and that kind of stuff. What they don't want to see is, furniture that's fallen apart, chairs that don't have a back to them, a treadmill that doesn't work that nobody's used, but Christmas, all the house decorations, the seasonal stuff can stay there. We would have beds in the garages and say, well, the resident brought their own bed. And so we would wrap our bed in a plastic wrapper so it would stay clean and we could see, so we were able to get away with that, but you could still go in and out the garage fine, So. You asked about the top 5. I said I would look at the staffing model. Here's another creepy thing I saw. The home was staffed with 2 people. one person was never on the payroll. So the one staff member never showed up on the payroll in the financials because she was paid under the table, because she was also on Social Security. And so she didn't want her earnings known because she didn't want to have, she still wanted to be able to collect her Social Security. So they were paying her cash under the table. So none of her payroll made it in. And when the buyer walked in, he thought, okay, we're making this work. We got 2 caregivers during the day, 1 at night. We're making it work. The day caregiver never was on the financials. She was
Wow.
paid under the table. And I looked at their, because all you got to do is say, okay, you got to staff that home 24 hours a day. And it's $15 an hour, add it up. And I looked at her financials and said, somebody's not being paid. I'm telling you that right, because she has too many people working and the math doesn't add up. She's got 2 people during the day. Even if you just take it at $15 an hour, you get 24 hours you got to cover, unless you have a sleeping staff model. And that's a whole different thing, but basically you got 24 hours a day that need to be covered times $15. And if you got 10 residents during the day, you can do 1 person as long as you meet care needs. But if you got high care needs, they were saying, oh yeah, we have wheelchairs, but we have 2 people here. And then when we looked at her financials, they said, no, this is not adding up. So that's number 2, is look at your finances to make sure everybody's being paid through the payroll system. Because I saw that.
You know if there's any recourse with the state if you've requested the information, like if you go on the site, you don't see any survey issues, and then you request that information from the city,
From the state, yeah.
excuse me, from the state,
State.
and you don't get that information, the sale closes, and then surprise, you find that is there any recourse for that?
I don't think so, because the state's pretty backed up and they say, well, we were getting to it. We were going to get to it for you, but we're a 60-day lag on trying to get you that. So that's where, what I would do if I was buying a home, I'd say, okay, let me see your coffee account. Let me see the portal that everything's on. Let me see the secret portal that nobody knows about. I'm even doing that. I was surprised at the number of consultants that didn't know that portal was there, because they didn't know the facility had another survey, and they were hired 6 months ago to take care of this, and this. The owner never told them about the new survey, and now they got other problems, and the consultant's supposed to be taking care of all the problems, and she didn't know they had another survey. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me you want to be on their coffee site? Because they can't hide anything there. All the communication from the state to the owner goes through the coffee site. And yeah. So
Are those things you can easily print out, or is it a convoluted system like?
It's a
public
little
one?
convoluted. You have to know how to use that system. There is a training. The state is lax kind of in their training. There's an easier way to get around the portal. I've showed people before. Here's how you can get around in it, and you can actually go to the top and say print, and it's easier than going into every survey tag, because every survey tag, the little dot goes around and goes, and you wait. But if you print the whole thing, you are taking 34 pages, but you just saved yourself a bunch of time. Yeah, but I'll be happy to look at people's survey and go, here's a problem, here's not a problem. Look at their, you guys probably do the finances, and then you probably know, okay, you got 10 residents here, 24 hours times 15, here's how much your staffing should be, your food is at least $75 per week per person.
So we were looking at a facility, a potential purchase recently, and I don't want to give too many details, but basically they have half of the residents because they're closing the business. They couldn't sell it. And so when I went to go on the state site and look those things up, I found things like, resident left on the floor for 4 hours, bleeding in their own urine and half naked. And so, it's those kinds of things. I couldn't see in that state, in the public site, what was required, what it just has very generic information. So
yeah. That's where you would need to go to the state health department and say, did they get it? They probably got an immediate jeopardy for that lady. That was a $2,000 problem. Yeah. I'm going to guess, Vern, you write it in the contract, all fees and fines have been paid. And any outstanding fees and fines before closing date will be paid by the previous owner. See, aren't I good in my language? Telling you how to write that up.
I'm writing it.
That's what I would do if I was buying a place. All fees and fines prior to close date are paid by the previous owner. You know, at least that might make them go, oh, guess what? You know, yeah.
Well, and even I think if you know it ahead of time, I think it's a real challenge going after some folks after the fact. It can be. And sometimes, you know, is it worth the cost in attorney fees to go after them? But, you know, if we have a heads up and we know there's issues and this person, you know, may be struggling with this, we could at least have some money set aside from the closing in
Yeah.
escrow to cover those things.
Exactly. You could say, okay, I found that you have $3,500 worth of fines outstanding. And so now we're going to give you this at closing and we're going to pay the fines from the sale of the business. Yeah, I'm going to guess you could do that too. Yeah. That would be awesome. You know,
So you gave us 4: CPR, the incorrect CPR certification, because I remember at Cala, you guys were talking about
that's getting cited for
online
everything.
CPR doesn't count. It has to be the live. with
Somebody has to
compression.
do chest compressions on the person. So they're now that's their, you know, big deal. Not maintaining sufficient staff for resident care. You have too many people in there in wheelchairs. If you got 2 people in your building, if you have 8 people and you have 2 people in wheelchairs, you don't meet fire code. Because you got to go in and get 2 people. And you only have 1 staff on duty. So the fire department's going to flag you right there that you're meeting regulation because you can take care of them during the day, but you cannot evacuate that home with 2 people in a wheelchair that physically, you know, and I don't know about any of you, but if the home's on fire and I get Mrs. Betty out, I don't think I'm running into a building to get somebody else out that's on fire. You know, just be real. I'm not running into the burning building to get another person out that's in a wheelchair. I'm not doing it. You know, and you can't expect any staff that's 25 that they're really going to do that. They're really going to run into the burning house to get, you know, Alice out of her wheelchair. They're not going to do it. So that's the fire department knows they're not going to be doing it. So know the care levels of people that are in there because you got to meet staffing levels. Yeah. And you know, and see if the staff is supportive of the home, because you can't be there 100% of the time. Even if you're the administrator, you don't live there, you're not there all the time. So you have to have supportive staff that are willing to support the regulations, because that's the rules of the game. You know, I used to interview staff and say, okay, here's what I'm looking for. If you're not the person that wants to warm the pancake syrup and put, you know, warm syrup on the hot cakes, then you're probably not going to work out here, because I need you to do the right thing even when nobody's watching, you know. And if you're not that person, because you don't want your mom to have a nice stack of nice hot pancakes and somebody get the friggin' syrup out of the refrigerator and put cold syrup on the pancakes, that's gross. You know, I used to use that as an example and say, I'm not okay with that. So if you're not that person, we're not the right organization for you. You need to move on to somebody else, you know.
Now, how would a buyer know that kind of thing if they can't go in and tour it until it's under contract? Unless they pay you to shop it.
Unless they miss. Is that ethical? It's probably not even ethical. It's not even probably legal to mystery shop, huh?
Yeah.
It happens. It happens. You know what? I know owners that are now running assisted living facilities that mystery shopped my homes and came in and looked like, you know, I'm like, oh, now you're in the business. Didn't you look for your mom about a year ago? Yeah, I did. So, it happens. I don't know. I don't know how. Yeah, unless because they really, buyers cannot tour the facility until it's under contract.
Usually, you know, what we do is we do Matterport so they can see the facilities, but we don't want to have a bunch of people come through. It
Yeah.
raises a lot of awareness and worries people. And that said, once you're under contract, you've got a due diligence period, and you go through all this due diligence during that time. And that's your discovery time. And, you know, if you find out something that you don't like, then you can get out of the deal.
You can back out.
Because,
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So there's 30 days there. There's something.
Yeah, 30 to 45 days. It's, you know, depending on how cooperative. The best way to write the contract, although it's really hard to get this done because a lot of sellers will just balk at it, is to say that your due diligence period begins after you've received everything you've asked for. And then you've got 30 days to comb through that. So, you know, that's That'd be the best way to write it. And you have that list already. But our list is really big. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be gone through.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they want to get the deal done, they'll do it. And, we've got a pretty big offer in right now, and our due diligence on that one's going to be 60 days.
Yeah, so that's good. Well, look at the quality management plan, look at the policies and procedures, at least see if they're somewhat compliant. So you're not starting from nothing, because I know some places that you ask for the quality management plan, they don't have one. And it's like, oh my God, it's been a regulation for like 5 years. You have none, and then you're hiring someone to either write it, because that's the state's going to look at the facility, see if you're meeting care needs. They're going to look at the quality management plan. They're going to look at the policies, procedures. They're going to look at past surveys, see if you get them cleaned up. Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. It'd be interesting to compare our industry to others, like when you buy a restaurant, do you get all this stuff? I don't know.
So Janet, I see on your website, the custom documents, quality management program.
Mhm.
So if somebody was, let's say a new owner was to purchase this and they didn't have one already, what would this include? How?
You know what? I would go on site and see how they're going to operate the facility. See how many staff they're going to have, what's the population they're serving, because your quality, and then I would snoop out their past surveys, because your quality management plan has to do with your back surveys, because you're trying to correct problems that already happened. So I would go in the state portal and I would look at past surveys, and then I write it specifically to this is how you're going to run your business, and here's how you're going to collect your documents. Incident reports, medication error forms, walkthroughs, mock surveys, monthly checkoff sheet. That's all tells you if things are working correctly or if they're not. And that's what we're trying to do, is to get them shored up on that. So I actually go on site and do a visit and see how I'm doing that one right now for the buyer's experience, but they have an executive director that's pretty new and he's pretty young, and he's looking at me like, you want me to write what, quality management plan? And he doesn't know what to do. I said, okay, how about I get your owner to just let me write it for you? He's like, that'd be awesome. So I wrote it for him. He goes, this is not that hard. I'm like, well, it's not, unless you don't know what you're doing, So, but you don't want a quality management plan. You don't want to recreate things you're already doing or should be doing. You already have to write incident reports, med-error reports. You already have to have some check sheets. You already have to have those, because I ran into a company that was copying things into a quality management reporting form, and they're taking it off the incident report and they're putting on their quality management reporting form. I said, why are you doing that? Why? That's a double step. Don't do that. You don't need a quality management reporting form, but you do have to have monthly meetings and you review, okay, here's what fell apart last month. Let's see if it fell apart again this month. Betty fell 3 times last month. That shows a pattern of falling. We got her a bed cane. We got rid of the shoes that were cluttered in front of her. Did we make progress? Yeah, Betty didn't fall at all this month. That's what the plan is supposed to do, is show how to find things that are going wrong and correct them so they don't keep happening. And last month we had 9 holes in the Mars. We looked it up. It's the same caregiver doing sloppy med passes. And you tell her, well, guess what? All 9 med errors belong to you because you left holes in the Mars. So we need to retrain you, and let's do better next month and get it under control. And then if she gets it under control, then you celebrate her and give her a gift card and say, yay for you. You got it done, because people don't like to be pounded on for the negative. But she had a system. Okay, here's a really funny one. One gal would never write stuff in the communication journal. So I asked her, I said, you know what? You're consistently not updating the communication journal. Well, she's only 5'2". Everybody put it on the top cover. She couldn't reach it. Like, really? We don't have a step stool here? She goes, no. And I'm not standing on the chair to get the freaking communication journal. I'm like, that's as easy to solve as, how about we leave it down here? Because she's only 5'2". She can't get it out of the top cover. It's not easy for her to do. She's like, no. And I asked them to leave it down here. They don't. So I'm not going to write it until somebody, she goes, I'm not standing on the chair and there's no step stool. Okay, get a step stool. We got that solved.
Wow.
But, and then you also want to get buy-in from the staff that's there. When you're buying a home, the staff is scared, they're scared they're going to lose their job. What's the new owner going to be like? And I would, if I was buying a new home, I'd get in there to reassure the staff, oh, we're all good. We're going to leave things the same. We're going to do this,
That sounds like a whole nother topic that we should have.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just writing it, Vern.
Yeah, I think
Action
that
item. find this person.
Yeah, that would be a good one. And we may have a guy that has done that several times
Yeah.
with us right now.
Well, and I'm working with a home that the current owner does not share the surveys with the staff. And I'm a mandated consultant from the state. So I printed the survey. I said, had a team meeting. I said, okay, here's what the state found. Here's what we're all going to do to clean it up. Because I'm not going to be here all the time, and neither is the executive director. So where do you own a piece of this that didn't go correctly? And I said, it's not a witch hunt. But who's not labeling the leftovers in the refrigerator that they're finding? You know, who's not making sure the milk's not sour and you poured it on Cheerios, and you know. So I went back this week and I said, okay, let's open the refrigerator, see if anybody cared what I said last week. Everything was dated. Everything had saran wraps all dated. And I was like, look at this. This is not lack of effort, you know. And one of the gals said, I didn't know it was supposed to be labeled. She goes, nobody told me it's supposed to have saran wrap with the little date on it. She goes, I didn't know. And I didn't want to ask because I'm new. Because I'm just trying to muddle through when you said this is supposed to be dated, you know. So that shows that they have teamwork there, and it's funny to see because they're all coming around. And I said, okay, now we got Betty's oxygen cord strung from one end of her room for the next. Does anybody know that she doesn't even have it on? You know, and they're like, no. I'm like, okay, when Betty doesn't have it on, we need to make sure it's on and kind of get it contained. And you know, yeah. And the house is under renovations. And I go there and there's extension cords on the outside all over the place. And the lady's trying to get down the steps with 2 extension cords that are draped down the steps. I'm like, okay, this is a problem. So I had to tell the ED, I said, do you know it's your responsibility to make sure these guys don't have extension cords down the stairs here? No, he didn't know. He thought it was the construction guys' problem. I said, no, they don't care. They're here to do the job. So I said, if she was leaving with her daughter, you go out and make sure there's no extension cords down this front steps, you know, but they don't know that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very fun to do, work with some new people that like the light goes on. They're like, wow, look at this. You know? And it's truly not that hard. If you can get your homes running well, what you don't want to be doing is playing the shuffle and being a reactionary manager. You know, the documents that are required for hiring, get them done before you hire them. You know what it takes to move a resident in with compliant paperwork, get it done, because playing catch up on those is a nightmare. It's time consuming, like, you can't believe. So get it done, have process in place when you open your home. Here's our move-in procedure. Here's our hiring procedure. Sometime I'm going to teach the administrators course. It's like, here's what you need to have about the business. Here's your business structure. Here's who's doing what. Here's your home. Here's how compliant. The next step is, wow, you have to have staff. And then here's all the stuff you get to have your staff. And the last thing you get to have is your residents. So here's how you do the residents. So that's what I'm going to do when I can get the course written, because it's taught kind of helter-skelter now, I think, but it'll be there. Yeah.
Awesome.
All righty.
Well, that's great stuff, Janet. We probably need to have you back for a whole nother discussion because there's a lot to talk about.
Well, I just want to make sure, you know, I'm all about the investors and getting in the business. It's a really fulfilling business to be in. If you're running it right and you're fulfilled and your resident, you can watch your residents flourish. They're happy, their families are happy, or it could be a freaking nightmare when it's falling apart on you, you know, so that's not fun. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, great presentation tonight.
All right.
Round of applause.
All right, everybody's on mute tonight. They're all sleeping. They're all like, oh my God.
They're all at home, got kids running around probably.
Yeah, they're trying to be on mute and everybody's running around behind their screen.
Okay, to wrap
right.
it up, we have our haves and wants section, and that is anybody that has anything for anybody or wants something from somebody. This is an opportunity, you know, if you have a service that you want to express to the group. So we give you like 30 seconds just to express your have or want if you're looking for a partner or anything like that. Do we have any haves or wants?
Peter has one. He wants more people to ask him how to design a website. I'll do yours, Peter.
I did that today. Peter's adding a couple pages for us, so we're getting that going.
Good deal. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap up the meeting. We are running a little bit late, but I will leave this open for discussion. So if you guys want to continue to pick Janet's brain, if she wants to hang around or just discuss between yourselves, then it will be open. I thank everybody for attending tonight. And we will have this recorded on our website probably within the next few days. So I'm gonna
Oh.
stop.
Sorry, there is one more thing.
Yes.
I apologize. We are changing our newsletter platform to something that's got some more juice behind it, some more analytics and easy things to use. So if you guys could text brokers, no spaces, to 22828 and just opt into that, then you'll get announcements, you'll get replays. If we have any special discounts, or we're like if we had a sponsor who's offering a free for whatever, then you'll get all that good stuff through that.
All right, terrific. And again, you can download that chat so that you have the contact information of the people you met tonight. Hopefully you got some good value out of tonight's meeting and met some people that you can connect with and continue moving forward with your projects. Thanks everybody for coming, and we will see you next month.
Hey, Christelle. Oh, you're muted.